Hey everyone, it's Rob the Backyard Gardener, and it's time for a little potato harvest. And of course, I'm doing it on the hottest day of the year in Frisco, Texas. Hey everyone, it's Rob the Backyard Gardener. Welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna be doing a little potato harvest. You'll recall in one of the garden videos I had posted on, I believe, April 4th, I planted some Yukon Gold potatoes in one container and a couple of Texas Russet potatoes in a couple of different pots or bigger containers as well. And it has been, what is this now, 100 and almost 20 days, 115 days. So it's time to get the harvest part done. Typically you want 90 to 120 days on the harvest time for these potatoes that I planted. So we're definitely within that range. All of the foliage, or most of the foliage, has already died. And now it's really just time to go ahead and grab the tubers out of the ground. Hopefully we have more than we put in the ground. We'll have to see. I have not done any watering on these potatoes other than letting the sprinkler system do what it does and Mother Nature. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you over to where the pots are, and then we're gonna bring them over to a more shaded area so that I can have some cover while we uncover the potatoes. Let's go take a look. So I apologize for the loud pool equipment, but this is the first container, and you can see it's pretty much, we're down to the last surviving branches on this, and I have not done any watering on this whatsoever, and I even turned off the sprinklers for the last week to this part of the yard so that the ground wouldn't get too much more wet. But this should be the Yukon Gold, and then if we continue back this way, we should have a couple of just about dead potato plants here. These should be the Texas Russet. And I do see that we do have one peeking out of the ground right there. So hopefully that means a full pot, but hopefully there's no green, and we got another one peeking out of the ground over here. All right, yeah, definitely time to get these harvested. Let me get these containers brought over to where I'm going to be harvesting them, and we'll take a peek. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get this first pot dumped out. Most of the plants have died off. There's just a couple of plants that are still alive. Typically you'd like to go ahead and just cut these, but I'm just gonna break them, and we're gonna dump this out and see if we have any. Oh, we do have some little potatoes in here, I can already see. Some really small ones as well. Now these are little Yukon Gold ones. These are tinier potatoes. I'm not trying to get big potatoes from these plants, but let's just see if we have any, first and foremost. All right, looks like we are gonna have some littles for sure, which is what I want for this harvest. I know you guys aren't seeing a lot of this, and I apologize, but wanted to get an idea if we had anything at different levels, or was it all up top? So we got a few, not exactly a monster harvest that I can see, but I didn't expect much not attending to this stuff here in the yard. I was wanting to see if I didn't do any watering whatsoever and just let stuff do its thing, how many potatoes we get. And it looks like the Yukon Gold definitely was not a very big, or not very successful for the harvest. I was expecting a little more than what you see in the picture frame. Doesn't mean there's not more hiding, but I don't think I'm gonna find any at the top, or at the top level. Most of this stuff will sit at the planting level, but we'll have a few more for sure. And I'll speed up the rest of this and get you guys a final here in a second. So that's all we got for the Yukon Gold. Hopefully we do better on the Russets, because that's definitely nothing to get excited about. That's maybe one meal in that pot. And if you think about taking up that much pot space for almost 4 months and only getting that many potatoes, definitely not very successful. Let me go ahead and grab the Texas Russet first container, and we'll see how that one did. All right, first Texas Russet potato harvest. Hopefully a little bit better than the last one, but you'll never know until we get into it. Ugh. All right, and nothing down low, which is about par for the course for my potato pots. Now, I do want to make mention that I do not do any fertilizing whatsoever. This is strictly compost and garden soil, and we let nature do its thing to see how well these actually produce, if at all. And based on what I'm seeing so far, unless we have a bunch of potatoes in the top half of this, definitely am not going to be pleased with this potato harvest. This is the smaller bucket, or at least the one that didn't have the bulging potatoes coming out of it. And you will see smaller tubers or smaller potatoes if you don't, when you chit your potato seeds, if you don't trim off some of the eyes, you will have more potatoes, but less bigger ones, if that makes sense. And based on what I'm seeing here, we A, didn't really get more potatoes, and B, didn't get bigger ones either. So we need to hope that this last Texas Russet container does a lot better than these. Yeah, not too fantastic at all. I have been growing potatoes in ground the last several years. I haven't done containers in a while, and based on what I'm seeing, I probably needed to go ahead and use some fertilizer, because I'm not seeing what I was hoping to see so far in these first couple of pots. Let's go with the last one and hope we did better. Well, I do see a little better, for sure, or at least so far. But man, is it a hot day. All right, let me just start grabbing all this dirt that I know there's nothing grown in. Lots of smalls. Lots of smalls and or nothing. There's a decent one. And another decent one. Small. Just double checking, see if we had any that I missed. But I don't think so. All right, let me go ahead and wrap this up off camera, and I'll give you a look at the harvest on the russets, and then we'll just do a quick weigh up to see how we did. So definitely nothing to get excited about when you really take a look at what we grew in 2 pots of Texas Russet seed potatoes. That's really nothing to get excited about. And then the Yukon Golds are over there, and had we grown 2 pots of that same thing, that would have been pretty rough. So kind of a rough potato harvest this year, but I needed to grow it in pots. And lessons learned: 1, I definitely need to give a fertilizer to the soil. The soil I used was pretty much half compost, half potting soil. I noticed there's a lot of potato bugs or sow bugs in here, roly-polies if you will. Definitely didn't do that well, and there's a lot of babies of these little potato bugs and red ants and you name it. Either way, I haven't planted in containers in a while. Wanted to give it a shot with very minimal work. And now the next time we do this, we'll definitely use A, better composting material. B, we'll give it a fertilizer once we see it sprout up, and give it maybe a hand watering once every couple of weeks, especially in this Texas heat. But that's what we got. And I'm gonna weigh it up and bring you guys a total in a different part of the yard, maybe on my patio, because it's definitely hot even in the shade. All right, we've got our scale set to 0. I guess that we can hit one more time on the 0 and make sure it's teared out to nothingville. There you go. We've got it all ready to go. Figured we'd go ahead and weigh up the Yukon Golds first and see what we got. Not going to be much, but we do want to know weight. Just going to dump them onto the plate. See if we can get them all on there. We did. Total weight, 1 pound, 1.3 ounces. So just over a pound of Yukon Gold in one container. And typically you'd want 2 to 3 pounds per container at the least. So definitely not a very good yield. Had these smalls been bigger, but at the end of the day, we could have gone longer in the ground and maybe got a little more, but the plants are basically dead. 1 pound, 1 ounce, Yukon. Let's check out the Texas Russet next. All right, we've got the Texas Russet harvest on there. 2 pounds, 6.4 ounces on that one. And again, just over 1 pound, about 1 pound, 3 ounces per pot. Definitely below what we wanted. So we know we're gonna end up with about 3.5 pounds based on what we had in the Yukon Gold. Let me get it all set up, give you some final thoughts. So there you have it, my 3.5 pound harvest of potatoes from 3 containers, Yukon and Russet. Definitely small on the Russet side, a little bit of smalls on the Yukon, but at the end of the day, overall, kind of a baby harvest. Not even kind of, let's just cut to the chase. That's not a very good harvest. But I did want to not plant any potatoes directly in the soil this year. I wanted to do some pot growing, and I figured I would see how they would do with the minimalist amount of effort. And I guess it does show, because I've had big container harvest did potatoes before, and this was definitely not anywhere near one of my better ones. Either way, I'll have a couple of meals out of that. Maybe a couple of meals. I do like myself some potatoes. But either way, I'll definitely enjoy eating them. Hopefully, despite the lack of a plentiful or bountiful harvest, you still found this video fun. I do like to go ahead and show my fails and my trials and errors along the way, hence the name Backyard Garden Air. If you guys enjoyed this video, I appreciate a thumbs up. And as always, everyone, happy gardening, and thanks for watching.